Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. I am Elder Michael, and
And
we
I'm
have Officer Charmaine. Thank you. Today, we are going to address the matter of uh, the New Egypt, the preparation for the New Egypt. This broadcast, of course, is history meets prophecy. In other words, the prophecy was there. Now the history is being unfolded. And in this process, what we do is we track the dispersal of our Israelite nation from ancient Jerusalem to their enslavement and their restoration at Toronto, Canada. This gives us an opportunity to reflect on our identity and our responsibility. It allows us to reflect, to give us a better understanding of what we are supposed to do according to the terms of the covenant with our Father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Before we begin, I just want to say that we are not here to criticize anyone, but it is important. As a matter of fact, let me take that back. We're here to criticize the children of slavery, the Jacobites, who did not follow the instructions of our Father, and hence our enslavement as punishment. But we also offer the solution, a time to repent and to be reconciled to our Father once again. This is the time for us to return to our Father's house, all the children of slavery, and bring your friends. So to begin, we will turn you over to Officer Charmaine, who will reflect and review on the past episodes.
Yes, peace everyone, and welcome once again. This is such an exciting time. As Elder Michael said, this is all about history meeting prophecy. So history meets prophecy. And for those of you who don't know, we are streaming live today on Facebook and Twitter. So this is going to be very interesting. So just to give you a little bit of background before we move forward, a few weeks ago, we spoke about the Moors. Who was the Moors and how they got to Spain? And it's really very interesting because when you look at the big picture, as I mentioned, Elder Shadrach's book, The Truth, the Lie, and the Bible, specifically spoke about these different nations that had the children of slavery in their countries and what happened after a period of time. And there was a trend of 400 years. And we can see today, I mean, we saw how the children of slavery, or we saw how Israel, I shouldn't say the children of slavery because they weren't quite at that time. We saw how they left Israel, they went to Arabia, they went to India, they went all across North Africa, they went into Europe, they went into Spain, they spent a good time in Spain. They were, during the time that Israel was in Spain, the rest of Europe, they saw that as the Dark Ages. And as I said before, the Dark Ages was because the dark people were ruling Europe at the time. Do the research, it's out there, you'll see, because during that time, Spain and Portugal, they were the bread baskets of all the nations. They were the richest countries in the whole world. And then came the Inquisition. The Inquisition was so atrocious that, Israel was punished and prosecuted and put under all kind of, it was just terrible for them. And because of that, they left Spain and they went into Portugal looking for refuge. And again, after a while, they were taxed very heavily. And the Portuguese, they seem to have done worse than what the Spanish had done, to the point whereby Israel was given an option of either converting to Christianity or being slaves. And we even read about how, some of their children were taken away and taken to the colonies, the Portuguese colonies that was dotted around West Africa. Mm-hmm. So this is all a build-up to where we are going to take you today. Now, where we are taking you today, we have a lot of areas to cover. And of course, We're not going to do it all today.
Right.
And you might find that there are more things that are interesting to you than, than others. So if there is a particular subject that we touch on today, please put in the comments, send us a message, and let us know which one you would really like us to flush out. But we want to go into this. I mean, we looked at Spain and we looked at Portugal, and we saw how today the evidence is that they are the poorest countries in Europe. Look it up and you'll see. And that's part of the reason why. And you can read that again in the Truth, the Lie, and the Bible. Before I pass you back over to Elder Michael, because we have such an amazing little presentation for you. If you don't know already, your mind is going to be blown. It's such a great presentation.
Yes.
I don't know how many of you guys have heard the term the New Egypt.
That's right.
Or the spirit of Egypt in America.
That's
now, right. Apparently, people have called us false prophets because we've used this term. They probably thought we weren't very bright because, we don't know our geography, because Egypt is in Africa and we're talking about America being the new Egypt. And there is one scripture. This was one of the scriptures that, for me, kind of solidified the truth. I'll just read this very quickly. This is not really a Bible study, but the Bible is going to play a big part of this because, as we said before, it's about history meeting prophecy. So before we continue, and this is the big, everybody's kind of jumped on the bandwagon and you'll hear it all the time. But for those of you who haven't, it's in Deuteronomy 28:68. And I quote, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships." This is to say that we are going into a place where we have already been, except this time it's with ships, meaning that the first Egypt, we didn't go into the first Egypt with ships. Read it. We didn't go. Israel never went into the first Egypt, the one everyone knows is in Africa. We never went there by ship. But
That's
this one, we're going to Egypt again, and this time with ships. "By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again." We're never going to see that land again. The land is Israel. We're not going to see that land again. And this is happening right in Deuteronomy, early on in our life. This is the prophecy. Mm-hmm. "Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you." Over to you, Elder Michael.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Officer Charmaine. So basically now we have our seller confirmed. This is it's a trade, but we are the victims. We are the cargo. So the seller is confirmed. The Mohammedans will be the seller. And there, you could read that if you want, Genesis 16, 11 to 12. Remember that this is history meeting prophecy. Keep that in mind. We're going to see the hand of God shaping the entire process as we go through this new Egypt. And we're going to reveal all of these things according to his word. Therein is our reference. Therein is our confidence. The second point is that our buyer is also confirmed. You can read that Genesis 15 as well, 13 to 14. And we know the buyer is Christianity. So with those two out of the way, so to speak, now we could look at the third element, which would be the middleman or the financier, the one who is going to allow for the trade between these two components. Now, in order to do that, this person has to have some skill in the manipulation of business endeavors. He will be able to pay for the ships. He would be able to get insurance information available in case someone gets thrown overboard. And believe you me, millions of our foreparents were thrown into the water, right? Millions of them. And nobody even talks about how many millions of people were tossed into the ocean. So that middleman would be the Ashkenazi Khazars. Those are the middleman today. But we're not going to get into all the details on this because we want to get to the point where we can show you the new Egypt being formed. What you have to recognize at this time, we're covering about 3,000 years of history in about an hour. We cannot pay attention to all the detail. This is why, as Officer Charmaine has said, if there is a particular area that you would like us to give more attention to, let us know. Put that in your chat, and we will deal with that specifically on another broadcast. So the Khazars are going to be the middleman. They're going to be able to finance the operation between the Mohammedans and the Christians. This is very important, and I always say I don't have a problem with people going outside of that trinity, so to speak, is the Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Uh, Outside, yes, but within that trinity, absolutely not. But that's a whole different matter. So now, as Officer Charmaine said earlier, the Inquisition, what that really entails is the rejection of our foreparents back to Africa so that the trading of these individuals could begin, because you can't trade unless you have the merchandise, so to speak. So those that were in Europe were shipped back, as Officer Charmaine said earlier, to San Tome and other places in northwestern Africa and Soma. Again, there's so much there that we could talk about for an hour, but we don't have the time because we want to get to the new Egypt, because this is something that is extremely important. A lot of people do not understand the importance of the new Egypt as it was read earlier, Deuteronomy 28:68. And in order to do that, I think, Officer Charmaine, we could go to the Britain and France. Do we need to address that now, or should we go a little bit later?
I think we should go a little bit later.
Okay.
But before we do, there is a question here, and I'm not sure if I'm understanding it correctly. This is from Corey, and it says, I was wondering, that is, East Indian is a Israelite. Now, if I'm understanding it correctly, are there Israelites in East India? The question is, Israel went all over. Israel went to East India. They went to, all over Europe. You will find records of them in northern parts of India. You would find them, all over Africa. They were everywhere. We traveled. We were dispersed from our land. We traveled with many other, groups. In particular, we were travelers known as the Moors, right?
Right.
So we were all over. Today, however, I would definitely shy away from calling anyone an Israelite unless they are serving the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We look at, our brethren, our brothers, those that should know who we are. We look at them because they don't know who they are. They don't know their God. They don't know how to call his name.
Right.
We call them Jacobites because they are from Jacob.
Yes.
And those are those that were taken captivity to the Americas.
Yes, it's very important. Rather than speculate on who is and who is not, let us deal with who is. We know who is. We can go into so much detail, but we'll get to that later because we do have a specific slide. We have a PowerPoint presentation where we want you to see specifically what we're talking about so that you could frame your questions accordingly, or even ask for material that is not there, because like I said, we can't cover 3,000 years of history in 1 hour.
I just have this question, sorry, from Felicia, and she says, and no man shall buy you, because we already belong to the God of Israel. Amen.
Exactly.
You got it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It is such an interesting, this is an excellent opportunity for entrepreneurs because the framework is being set. Even though it is not the most constructive, it is still there. If you have an agreement with the bank on a mortgage or a car payment, you don't relinquish that that agreement just by, shifting the car between two different people or the mortgage. You have to recognize the agreement, right? And maintain or satisfy. What am I talking about? The covenant. That's why it is called the everlasting covenant, right? And the God of Israel is saying, even though you are sold, really you're leased. That's what he's saying, right? Because he has not relinquished the ownership. He has not signed off. And if you sell your vehicle and you don't sign off on the ownership, then you still own it, right? If the guy has an accident or has a speeding ticket, you're responsible because it's in your name. But anyway, we don't want to get into too technical the matter, but we do appreciate those questions and comments. Let us continue. Oh, we have another question here, another statement. It says, I would love for you guys to talk about the difference between Hamites visiting the New Egypt versus the children of Israel coming to the New Egypt. Okay, so we'll put that down as a subject for the future. You want to say something to that, Officer Charmaine?
Oh, I think you're absolutely correct. We may actually touch on a little bit of it,
Right.
maybe not.
Right.
But yes, definitely in the future we'll address that. It's it's definitely a good one.
Right. Now, do you want to address the matter before I get into the issue with France and Britain?
No, you could go ahead.
Okay. So as I said, we've covered the seller, we've covered the buyer. Now we know the middleman. The question is now, how do we get these two together? There is no, or these three together. There is no United States, period, at this point, right? We're going to put that on the map. It's like a puzzle. And we've got three pieces of the puzzle so far. Now we have to put the rest of the puzzle together. Again, history is going to meet prophecy. The God of Israel has already said one thing that is, well, not one, but many things that are, but this one stands out to me. He says that, and we have to remember this, Babylon is a cup, a golden cup in the hands of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. All the nations of the earth must drink the wine thereof. They're not only going to get drunk, they will get mad. So today we're seeing a lot of that. In the time of our enslavement, we saw a lot of that madness. We are the only ones where there is any opportunity for redemption from that madness. So keeping that in mind, because again, it's history meets prophecy. Keeping that in mind, you can read that with our brother Jeremiah, I think it's 51, if I'm not mistaken, and 25. So 51, chapter 25 and chapter 51. And so now we are in Spain. We're going to exit Spain and go to France. And then from France, we're going to go to Britain. And then from Britain, we're going to build the new Egypt. That is the way we're going to let this unfold. Just keep that in mind. So far, there is no Egypt, no new Egypt, that is. So in the year 1066, that is when the Israelites that were living in France, and a lot of these Israelites were living in southeastern France. Provence is the name of that region. Mm-hmm. And they settled there. They were very successful. The making of wine and herbs and the spices and all these things. Because remember, look at the culture. You know, we don't just, you know, when did jerk chicken start in North America? It started with the Jamaicans, right? And the people from the Caribbean. That's what is important, because most other people would eat their meat with just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. No, we go better than that. We add spices, and the flavor of that meat changes for the better. You know, we have lamb at Passover, and it is so good once the spices are there. A lot of that is what we did in Western Africa, what we did in ancient Jerusalem, and we did it in Provence of France as well. The wine industry is also another, I'm not sure if we invented it, but we enhanced it. It was big there in France, as it is today. So these are important elements, but keep in mind that all of that region, the Assyrian was there, the Assyrian and the Phoenician. These are two very important aspects. Go ahead, Officer Chairman.
No, I think, you know, one thing I just wanted to backtrack just a little bit. You mentioned that particular prophecy regarding Babylon being the cup that the nations must drink out of.
Yes.
And it is so very fitting because, we are talking about the spirit of Egypt
Yes.
because there was a connection. There was a connection. We were in Egypt once upon a time.
Right.
And this is very important. So this is something that we recognize. So when the God of Israel is saying that you'll be taken into Egypt again, it's something that we recognize because we were there before.
Right.
So it's almost as though you remember how it was for you when you were in Egypt, when you were in bondage at that time. It wasn't during the whole 430 years. It was just for a period of time. But you remember that type of bondage. Well, I'm going to put you into Egypt again for your disobedience. So you've been given the blessing and the curse. The reason why I wanted to mention that, because it's, when we look at Egypt, Egypt received her power from the Babylonians.
Hmm.
Do you see? Right?
Yes.
So the Babylonians, they were the masters of everything, especially
Exactly.
everything that was wicked and
But
what
and
have
to
you. It was
your point,
her
also, Charmaine,
from
Egypt took
time.
it to another level, and that's the key where we're going to get to right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when one of Israel says, that everyone will drink of her cup, the cup of Babylon, all
That's
these
right.
nations, well, this is where it connects. So
Right.
this is where the history comes into play. So I
Exactly.
just wanted to put that in there. But
It's very
yeah, going
important
back
because
to
therein
time.
lies the spiritual impairment of the nations.
Yeah.
It's interesting because recently at the book club, they were asking me why would Egypt factor into our learning. But I said to
Mhm.
them, for instance, if you had one of the best colleges on the planet, but it was in a, let's say it was in a black neighborhood, and it wasn't the best neighborhood, but the college was the best college that you could find anywhere, or the university, call it whatever you want, or the high school. So you had a choice. Do I send my children there to learn, even though the neighborhood is not the best? Or do I send them somewhere else where they're only going to get less than 1% of the knowledge? So the old Egypt, we went to school there. Moses went to school there. And the new Egypt, we're going to see something that is parallel to that. But here's the key: the adversaries also sent his children, the serpent seed, to learn from the Egyptians. The only difference is they brought out the old demonic stuff with them, but yet they use it to gain power and wealth. So we're going to get into all of that. But before we get to Egypt, like I said, in 1066, we had an opportunity to go with William, who from Normandy in France. He wanted to conquer Britain, and he went in, and he invited us, our forefathers, to come with him because we had the money, and we paid for his expenses. We went into what was that called, Officer Sherman? The Battle of Hastings, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
it was the Battle of Hastings. Yes, and
Yeah.
this was actually done in Normandy. Um, And one of the things if you ever go to Normandy, you will find that there is a museum where they have something called the biotapestry. The biotapestry is a historical record of what took place during the battle, and it's actually done in tapestry. Very beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, I
Right.
think, as I mentioned earlier, we have so many different sections in this presentation, and it's going to be very high level. And I think there will come a time when we will go back and we'll visit,
Yes.
England,
Details.
for example, because England itself has a history that is very, very powerful and that also affects us quite a lot. But I
Right.
think at a later date, we'll go and we'll really dig into that. We'll talk about the Magna Carta and how that affected us. That's like their constitution or their book of records. So it's something very interesting that we will look at later on. That's if you're interested. So
Right.
guys, you have to help us. We want to make this as exciting as possible for you. So we are looking forward to your questions and comments. But I
Right.
think this is a great opportunity to get into these slides.
So
So
now,
thank you very much, moderator.
Now let's take a look at what happened in England, because before they could send out colonists, let's see the contribution that our foreparents made to the British. We were there from 1066 with William until 1290. 1290, we were kicked out. But in the process, we helped to establish Oxford University. We helped to establish the British educational structure, so that, because again, remember, we are the only people on the planet that had a covenant. And the covenant stipulated, there were laws within that, stipulated that we were supposed to teach our sons and daughters according to the word of God. We had to learn to read. We had to learn to write. Nobody else had that capacity, right? Again, they got it, well, because we were mingled with these people and they learned from us. So we established a part of Oxford University. We set up Moses Hall and Oxford. You can check that. It's probably still there today. And Jacob's Hall at Oxford University. From Oxford, they went to Cambridge, and from Cambridge, they went to Westminster. Doesn't that ring a bell? Because when King James I came to power in 1611, he got all of those scholars from those three different institutions to come together to make the translation of our Holy Scriptures. Once that was
Yes.
in place, then we were ready to move in to the land that we call the New Egypt today.
And
Okay?
I think one thing that our audience should understand why reading and writing was so important. Some people said, oh no, Israel had an oral tradition. All they did was tell stories. And I sometimes have to remind them, well, the God of Israel, he gave Moses a set of tablets with his instructions, with his laws written on the tablet. This is why reading and writing to Israel has always been important. Yes, we did have oral history and oral storytelling, but our thing was about writing things down. And as you go down to slavery, during the time when were actually enslaved, this was the first time ever was anyone ever told that you're not allowed to read or write, even
That's
though
right.
you weren't considered a full human. you know you weren't allowed to read and write. So there's a contradiction there, but you
Yeah.
see why.
That's such an important subject. And again, we can spend an hour on it because there's so much that we could flush out. But let us now go, because now we have the British ready, we have the French ready, and the Spanish as well. They're all going to be sailing. Columbus is going to set sail in 1492. And all the Israelites now are kicked out of, well, not all of them, but the majority of them are kicked out of Europe. They're going to find themselves to Northern Africa and Western Africa. So now we have the victims, if you will, ready.
Mhm,
We have the seller ready. We have the buyer ready. And all we need
mhm,
now is the land where these, let's say the warehouse, right? To put it in its true merchandising perspective. And we need the middleman to come in. So now the British are going to send colonists into the new into this land that is going to be called the New Egypt later. Keep in mind a very important point here, though. We have a situation where the covenant is already available in 1611.
yeah.
Very important that to have that covenant ready. And once that covenant is ready, the land is also prepared. Then we could get the slaves now being imported in 1619. So,
Yes.
as the slide presentation that we have prepared will say, we got the first slide up. It says, welcome to the New Egypt, land of the three and home of the slave. Now we're making a little play on words there, because they and their, what is that called? Is that a national anthem that they sing? They'll probably be singing it today because of the football game, right? But we don't say land of the free, because how the hell can it be free and we're the slaves and we're doing all the work? So it's the land of the three, and that is 666. Therein is the trinity of the Mohammedans, Christianity, and Judaism. And we will
Yeah.
prove this. Now, of course, we're playing on words here as well. The land of the three and home of the slave. Keep that in
Yeah.
mind as we go through. Now let's take a look at the second slide. Now that we're in the land of Egypt, keep in mind that it is called Virginia. From the border with Canada to the border with Florida, it is Virginia. Virginia is the name of that colony. And the central spot of that colony is called Jamestown, named after King James. Did you want to say something, Officer?
No, no, yeah, I was just absolutely, agreeing. It's
Yes.
just once again, I just want to let everybody know there's a method to this. It's very important to bring up our identity, the identity of who we were when we were back in the days, back in the days of, the Roman Empire, back in the days of Europe and, the Ottoman Empire, what have you. It's very important to understand all of this. And we're not trying to incite any kind of, hatred or,
No,
get you all prepared for revenge. It's
no,
it's about acknowledging what's happening. And
correct.
as I said earlier, we still want to go back one day and even look at those colonies that the Portuguese set up along West Africa. Because remember, before we even got to that part, we were actually stationed. It's almost as though they put us there, or we somehow managed to get there as a waiting, somewhere to wait for this period to take place.
Mhm.
Because you will see later on, they knew exactly where to go to find us and put
Exactly.
us into captivity.
That,
So
that that says a lot. It's a very good point because it is not just a physical um, dynamic. It's highly spiritual. But the question is that there's something also that the source of that spirit is different from the source of our spirit, and this is the key
yeah.
that we have to understand. Now, we
Mhm.
someone has just pulled the correct
Yes,
word. They said a
yes,
Masonic sign. Absolutely correct. And that's where I was going right now,
yes.
because we're dealing with Freemasonry. Now, we talk
Hmm.
about the Trinity being Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. They are the ones that will come together to form that Masonic structure. I think
Yeah.
last time we talked about the Templars and the Mohammedans coming together. We talk about the Rosicrucians and the Mohammedans coming together, and a lot of the mysteries of Egypt were translated in that Kabbalah structure. Another
Yes.
important point that we have to understand is our forefathers played a big role in that in Spain and in the Mediterranean region as well. So they all flow together to help to
Hmm.
build the Masonic structure. Now, the second slide right here is showing the gateway to 400 years in hell. And you can see the Masonic setup right here. Notice the very important coffin right there. Right? To get into that gate, you have to go in a coffin. This is the key. You go in, you're going into death. And you have the eye right there. You can call it Horus, you can call it Nimrod, you can call it Saturn, you can call it Satan, the sun, whatever you is call it. It's the same foolishness. If you look carefully, you will see that there are cubes here and there. You will see that there's a guy here with a sword, a guy here with a cross. There's all kinds of stuff in there. But the the essence of this is it's a spiritual dynamic. They're not just doing this thing physically because they set up physically in other places, but the new Egypt is extraordinarily special. They are taken from the old Egypt, and we will prove that in
Yes.
a minute.
Yeah,
That's
and this is exactly where I wanted to go, Elder Mike. I'm going to try and really be good today because I
no,
feel like
no.
I want to
Be
go to
yourself.
the point, but I'm gonna calm down and breathe and just point out what you just said because I think
Yes,
is just fantastic. That you look at it and you see this, it looks like a modern structure, but
right.
yes, still all of these symbols and signs are indicative of Egypt,
Yes,
which originated from Babylon. These
right.
signs are from Egypt, but it looks so modern.
And
So
and here's
thank
another important point that you see that people will have to understand. This this is really an altar right here, a Masonic
you.
altar. This is a
Yes.
coffin. Does that sound familiar?
And
Go
yes,
ahead.
and you know how the Egyptians, how they love their coffins, right?
Yes.
The
Not only
embalming and
the Egyptians, everybody else today, all the different philosophies take their dead to the altar. They take up these steps
very
to
true.
the altar. Where did that come from? We never did that in ancient Jerusalem. We don't do it today. You know, if we pass, we put you to sleep within 3 days, if that's possible. But the key
Mhm.
here to get into the new Egypt, you got to go in with your coffin, and your coffin has to go up the steps to the altar. Very
To the altar.
important detail. Yes. You see, and now you know exactly where we're going, that this is, you're not going to heaven here because no man can do that. Right. But anyway, let's go to the third slide and see what we have. Now, this is the first slide of the seller, meaning we got three: the seller, the buyer, and the middleman. This is an indication of who the seller really is. If we take a look at this, we ask the question, is it 33% or is it 33°? Or is it the same thing? Right? The Mason, these are Shriners. You can go online, you can go on television. There's a Shriners hospital in almost every city. And
Yeah.
this is the Fez. This is called Fez. It is strictly Islamic, right? But that's not true. The Christians also wear this. The people, the Ashkenazi Khazars that practice Judaism also wear this, right? How is it that you have three men in one bed together? How does that work? Don't answer that question. It's rhetorical. But the key is the sword. You know where that came from. It's Mohammedan. Then you have the crescent moon, also Mohammedan. Then you have the five-pointed star. Everybody uses that now. And here's Isis right here, Egyptian, right? Why is she there? Unless she has a significant role to play in this whole process. And of course, the Fez, which is a city in Morocco, when our forefathers were there, and the Muslims use the term convert or die, and we refuse, so they slaughtered us, dipped their turbans in the blood of our forefathers. That's why it's red. Look at this, understand it, don't use it
Yeah.
to criticize anybody. Just leave it alone and understand
Yeah.
that they had to do what they had to do. Go ahead, Officer.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, we don't see, them wearing this type of thing anymore, the fez. However, you do see them all wearing a little skull cap.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them wear a skull cap. So even though this was representative of who they were or who they are,
Right.
today you recognize them by the little skull cap that they all wear. Every
That is
single one wears this little hat, this
that is
thing
very
comes big
important.
others, but they all wear it.
And not just the skull cap. The Christians wear the skull cap and they're dressed in black. The Muslims wear the skull cap and they're dressed in black. And the Khazars wear the skull cap and they're dressed in black. How is it
Yep.
possible that three distinct men from three distinct cultures all dressed the same in the same manner and had a hand in our enslavement? One sold us, one bought us, and one financed the deal. But they
Yeah.
have the same uniform. Yeah, some of the skull caps are white, some are red, some are black, but they're all dressed in black. And I find that fascinating. It tells me that they have the same spiritual origin, the same spiritual source. That to me is incredible. Again, we're not here to criticize. It's just tingling to
It's
see all of
awareness.
these. Yes, the awareness is just so
Yeah.
exciting. But the question we ask is it 33% or 33°? The
Yes.
33%, as you know, were kicked out of heaven. Those were the demons of today. Why is it that the demons now, or that percentage of demons, is the highest level of Freemasonry? 33° of the 33%. Is there a connection? Again, rhetorical.
Yes.
We can only judge a man by his behavior, and the behavior would have to be contrary to the word of the creator of heaven and earth. And we are the ones that have that word, because this is why history meets prophecy. They all have to drink of the cup of Babylon, and they will get drunk, and then they will be mad. And this is part and parcel of that process. Let us
And
move on
remember,
to, go ahead.
yes, remember, this is, and it just goes back to the title, the making of the new Egypt.
Egypt,
All of these have to come into play.
right. And you're going to see in the process how they're drawing. Like I said, our fathers sent the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sent our forefathers into Egypt to learn
Mhm.
spiritual things. However, when they came across the Red Sea, he took Moses privately and taught him the real deal. Now that they had the foundation, in other words, understanding the spiritual interaction, now he can give him the laws, the statutes, and the commandments so that we know exactly. So they did not follow the Egyptians. This was
Mhm.
new to Moses, and he passed it on to our forefathers. A very delicate area that most people do not understand. But the reason I brought that up, as I said before, the adversary also sent his children into Egypt to learn, and they copied exactly what the Egyptians had. This is why we call it the New Egypt, because what Pharaoh did before, Pharaoh is going to do come 1619. Now it's all coming together. Take a look at this slide. This is the
Mhm.
33% of the Christian buyers. Pope Nicholas V issued his papal decree, which is called Romanus Pontifex. Again, don't take us at our word. Check this out. Do
Yes.
your research. He issued it on
Very.
January 8th, 1455. And that decree stated briefly that the Christians were supposed to invade, capture, and vanquish and subdue all enemies of Christianity and reduce them to perpetual slavery. You can read
Mhm.
that for yourself. These are my words or our words, we're putting them in, but you can do it however you want. Christianity established the biggest corporate entity on earth, enslaving all minds from birth to death. That is so
Yeah.
significant. Now, if you look
Yeah.
at that photograph, what do you see? Right? You see a snake.
No, you should have waited until someone put it in the comments.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Anyway,
get so excited. I get so excited I can't control
I know you
myself.
can't wait. I can't. Go ahead.
Right. It's the
Yes.
head of a snake. Why would the Pope, a man who was supposed to be dignified and respectful of, well, he says God, doesn't say wish God, but what do I know? I was never a Christian, so I don't know. But the point is, there he is with his audience. Now, can you just imagine the meticulous architectural detail that individual had to go through to make that design in the head of a snake? And it is so perfect. And why is he
Mm.
so comfortable in front of that snake? Is the snake eating the people? It looks like it. But these are rhetorical questions. I'm not here to criticize. I'm amazed at the architectural details. That's why I'm not wearing a hat, because I took it off to the Christians for what they've done. It's amazing. But this is what we're talking about. This is 33%. Remember, so we got 33% from the Mohammedans, 33% from the Christians. Let's see if we can find the other 33%. Next slide, please. Now, here is the other 33%. And there's so
Yeah.
much more that we could put up here. These are the Ashkenazi Khazars. They are the financiers. They're going to go and they're going to bring the seller and the buyer together. They're going to negotiate terms and contracts. They're going to handle a lot of the shipping. They're going to set up banking industries to accommodate the loans. They're going to set up insurance companies. Again, ladies and gentlemen, do your research, investigate what you find, and let us
E-
know. Yes, go ahead,
Even,
Sherman.
even when you look at it, who are the founding fathers of the New Egypt?
Exactly. You
Founding
know,
fathers.
yeah,
What was their origin?
that's
We
the
have it
key.
all here. We have it all
Yes,
here.
that's right.
And
And
they continue to finance the world in all of their endeavors, for lack of a better term.
they have the
So
money, they have the power. But what they don't recognize, and this is something that I will never stop saying, we did all the labor. Now, imagine you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, you have a very successful business. What would be the most expensive part or the most expensive component of your business? Isn't it salaries and benefits to your employees? So how is it that we did not get any salaries? We did not get any benefits, but why are they claiming that they're broke? Is it
Yeah.
poor management? I mean, these are rhetorical questions. I'm just asking. But look at this. Yeah, so here's a question. Why did they know the nine branch candlestick? Okay, good question, Felicia. You know, as I said a long time ago, I really admire and appreciate when the Gentiles try to follow us. It
Mm.
gives us a sense of not only appreciation for what our Father has taught us, but also the fact that we must be doing something right, even if in just the publication of the scriptures or in our teaching, that they would want to follow. But there's one thing to want to follow, and another thing to follow the exact instructions as given without interpolation, without putting in your own ideas. Look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where
Mhm.
is it mentioned anywhere in the Holy Scriptures that we're supposed to have 9 candlesticks? You're only supposed to
So,
have 7.
and even to your point, and I always say that, for the most part, why people never follow, because they're not worthy. They can't. When you're so polluted, you can't utter the name of the God of Israel, because you're
Right.
polluted. So you've got to call him something else. But with regards to the 9 versus the 7, you look at it, what they follow, you think, or they tell the world that they follow the Torah, and everything is about the Torah. And for those of you who don't know, the Torah is supposed to be Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the first 5 books of Moses, the law. Except that's not the book. That's what they tell the world. But the book that they follow, which you alluded to earlier, Elder Michael, is the Kabbalah. And the
Yes,
Kabbalah is, again, from Egypt, from Babylon.
that's right.
And another term they use is Jewish mysticism.
Mhm.
This is the term that's used. But where does it come from? It comes from a book which takes what we do and twists everything. And this is a beautiful example.
Exactly. And this is why I'm glad you're here, Officer Charmaine, because I have a tendency to quote things, right? When I say that Babylon is a cup in the hand of God and all the nations have to drink thereof and get drunk and be mad, this is exactly what I'm talking about. They can't get it, you see, because they're mad. They are spiritually deranged. They cannot appreciate what Moses said, but they would claim. Now, I'll give you a good example. You've given one, I'll give another one. Why is it then that they made nine instead of 7? Is it that they want to impress the world that, oh yeah, he says 7, but we can get more if we got 2 more candles? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what he said to do. So you're confirming to the world you're not part of the family, that you have a different father, and we respect that, you know. So why don't they just tell the truth? They can't. They have to lie because their father is a liar, and that is good because that distinguishes us from everybody else. But look at that cross in the middle. Did you see it? It's right here with the ninth. That is called Shamash, which is the sun god. And that cross is so deceptively hidden in the center of the whole structure. Beautiful.
Yeah,
I take
it's
my pen.
it really is.
It's
Very,
beautiful.
very smart. Very,
Yes.
yes.
So again, I
Isaiah
admire these people.
Isaiah 21:12, what's that? 21:12, 21, he noticed that,
Yeah. So they
pointed out that.
cannot. Yeah, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear will see and hear. Again, we're not here to criticize. We're just here to show that history meets prophecy and that the word of our Father is forever. The covenant with our Father is everlasting. On the right is the gateway to one of their temples. This is near Tel Aviv in the land that our forefathers were kicked out of back in the day. So again, why are these people setting up this Masonic structure? They have to serve their God. Their God is not our God. We don't have a problem with that. But they are the other 33%. Now, of course, I'm using 33, but it could be 34 or 33.3
It's
or
a
5.
perfect number. It really is. It's a perfect number.
Yeah, that's
Beautifully.
exactly. Because I'm thinking
Hmm.
of the fallen angels. That's where I'm
Yep.
going. So let's go to the sixth, another slide there then. Now, here is the key that brings the three group, the Trinity together. Notice, is it a cube or is it a cross? Well, either way, you can have a cube right here, 6 sides to it. Then you unfold it, and the 6 sides again are clear, and then it becomes a cross with 6 sides. You can count them, right? It's there. These guys, they worship on Fridays or sometimes on Saturdays, depending on how it is. These guys worship on Sundays. And of course, I call it Saturn Day because that's where the name Saturday came from.
And even, Elder Michael, the sun's day, the
That's
sun's
right.
day,
Sun
right?
hyphen day.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's
you
exactly
know,
what it is. So when you
yeah.
see some guys with the black cube, whether it's on the ground and they're moving around it in a circle, right? Like Saturn. Remember that,
Mhm.
the planet Saturn with a swish, right? I can't afford the shoes, but I'm sure a lot of the guys have the shoes. And then you have the cross. It is still Saturn. And Saturn is just another name for Satan. Keep that in mind. So again, we're not criticizing. We're just bringing a sense of awareness to what's really happening. This is the colony of the New Egypt in being established. These are the spiritual dynamics that makes it possible for the prosperity and the power to be realized.
And another thing, I didn't mention it when we saw the 9 branch, but I heard somewhere that each of the branches represents one of the planets. Now, this is how deep the conspiracy goes.
Save that for
You know,
another day, Officer Charmaine. We don't give out that secret because
oops.
we've got to do that presentation, right? So just zip it down because we're
Okay,
going to get
let's,
to it.
let's
But
continue.
you're
Let's
absolutely
move on.
correct. You're absolutely correct. But we just wanted to show you that the cross and the cube represent the same thing. And again, we're not criticizing, we're just bringing a sense of awareness. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, here we are. We've laid the foundation, and now we are going to show the evidence to declare who is who. And you see, there's no difference between the old Egypt and the new Egypt. Notice the guy
Mhm.
in the center, or is it a woman? I don't know. I have a hard time with this because when I see the woman, when we watch the movies, she comes up with a torch. Now, this guy, he looks like a woman, and sometimes he looks like a man. I don't know, but whatever your eyes will tell you. But he has the torch in his hands also, and we know
There's
that it's Saturn. Go ahead.
just to go off what you're saying, and this is probably another subject again that we're going to get into. The Baphomet that you showed, well,
It's coming.
the Baphomet
It's coming.
is also,
Yeah.
oh, you don't know if it's a man or woman, right? So,
Yes, it's true. It's true.
well,
But
just
save that one because that's coming up next. But here is the you have the pyramid of the old Egypt and the image in front of it, and here's the pyramid of the new Egypt with the eye of Horus or Saturn or Osiris or Nimrod. I mean, you name it, what it is. It's all. I just say Satan. It's done. And of course, on the flag, you see the 5-pointed stars, and here again the old Egypt with the eagle and the sun above its head. Here's a new Egypt with the new eagle with the sun, of course, above its head in a different format. It's all we're trying to say is the images from the old were brought to the new and established, and that formed America today or the United States. But we're not even at the United States yet. We're still at the beginning, even though we're showing you the emblems, because these are the foundation pieces that gave rise to 1776, where the name became the United States of America. And that has a whole lot of history attached. But remember, before it was just called Virginia, from the border with Canada to the border
mhm.
with Florida to the Mississippi River in the west. It was all called Virginia. Keep that in mind. Let's go to the
Yes.
next slide, please.
And Elder Michael, somebody mentioned Saturday as the Sabbath. And that's probably another lesson that we have to put together to
That's
explain.
right. That's
Actually, there are many lessons on our YouTube channels that actually talks about the Sabbath day, and we can prove to you in many ways. There's elders lessons specifically which talks about why Saturday is not the Sabbath day,
That's right.
unless, of course, it falls on the Sabbath day,
Exactly.
but it's not the Sabbath day.
Yes. Here's another
Put that,
question. Also, is
yes,
it fair to assume that the fallen angels are the motivators of the other religious groups? I would say yes to that because you only have two choices. You're
mhm,
either right or you're wrong. You're either on the side of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, or you're on the side of Satan. So again, but we're not here to judge. We're just here to bring a sense of awareness. The God of
mm,
Israel chose whom he wanted for his service, and he gave the others their gods. The other
yeah,
people worship their God. I admire them. I know this is hard for some people to hear. I admire them and their diligence and their loyalty and their dedication and their commitment to their God. That's why they get the rewards. We now, as a people who were disobedient in the past, we have to learn, and those of the Jacobites who are yet to return, this is part of that process. We're offering the
yeah,
solution to our rewards to serve our Father. Why? Because you have a covenant, and the covenant has not been canceled. And we say to the children of Jacob, the Jacobites, come home to your father's house and bring your friends with you. Bring your friends and neighbors that you get along with, that they too may benefit. Because this is not a black white situation. This is the truth versus the lie. And you have to
yes,
know or decide which side you're going to be on. Now,
mhm,
on this slide, you could see again the old Egypt over here, the Eye of Horus, the new Egypt. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of that, but I know a lot of because there's a lot of money involved. The more money you have, the more the eyes of Horus you have. Now, if you don't want the money, you can always send it to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, and we'll make good use of it. However, the key here is that that is what they took from ancient Egypt to establish the new Egypt. We're not saying it is good or bad. It just happened to be the reality of the situation. Again,
I'm really grateful, Elder Michael, when you show something like this and people still what call us false prophets because we're calling America Egypt. We're not calling America Egypt. We're saying that America is the new Egypt because it has the spirit of Egypt. And they are telling you themselves because they're showing you with all of the symbols. What more do you want? What more? They could have chosen anywhere. They could have chosen Turkey, they could have chosen Spain, whatever monuments those countries had. But everything here screams Egypt.
everything. There's nothing ambiguous about the evidence that we bring forward. If we make a statement, we're supposed to substantiate that statement. Again, we say history meets prophecy. And when we tell you, look, you saw the cross. Where did the cross originate? Wasn't it called the Ankh back in the day? And
Exactly.
don't we see the same pattern today? Here are the pyramids of the old Egypt. Here's the pyramid of the new Egypt, the pyramid in the Eye of Horus. I mean, like, what more do you want? The key is now, do we take these images, and go to the tattoo parlor and put these things all over our chest and our back and our arm and our feet? And why would you do that? As a child of Jacob, why would you want to do that? Didn't the
Mm,
slave master stamp you with his initials or the name of his company or whatever? Wasn't that enough? Wasn't that tattoo painful enough for us? Why do we want to go back? Why don't we go forward? Can you imagine
yes.
the God of Israel telling Moses, now we part of the water? Why would they back through the water? Why do they not go forward through the water? This is
Mm,
what it's all about. Common sense. But anyway,
mm,
let's go to the next slide. Here is another image of the old Egypt, duplicated in the new Egypt. And they went all the way to Luxor or wherever it was and brought this image and set it up in New York. And now here's another one. It's called the Washington Monument. But this is an
mhm.
image made to Thutmose the second. You see, these are the things that people don't understand. Why are these things important to us? Because where the images appear, the gods will follow. If you were to set up a cross, there are gods that will follow. God is just another word for spirit. This is why you have to be clear what spirit it is. To say in God we trust, which God? You know, we call the name of our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Why? Because that was the first instruction he gave to Moses to teach us. We follow the first command, and you can't get beyond that unless you cover that one. So we don't get into, there's no ambiguity with what we are saying here. Everything is clear and precise. Among the ancient Egyptians, it was believed that the gods of our spirits dwelt with the standing stone and erected in the honor of the sun god. You call it, some people call it Amun Ra, some people call it Ra, some people say Re, whatever you want to say. It's the same sun god. Go ahead.
And another point about this as well is that you cannot have another building or another image, anything obstructing this. It
That's right.
has to stand by itself.
But not only that, that is very important. But the other point is, why is this image so close to the White House, within sight of the White House? And is it the White House or the Capitol or both? I'm not, I have to remember. The Capitol, where the power of the government structure is right there. Look behind it and you will see. And I think it's close to the White House too. The issue that you have to look at this, if you ever read our books, you will see that this is your church steeple as well. This is what they call it and the Mohammedans call it a minaret. I forgot. That goes up. And yes. So fashionable. If you look at Ottawa, the Parliament building is structured in the same format. All the locations of power for the people, you know, are embraced with this concept. Sometimes it's in plain sight, sometimes it's hidden in the structure of the building. But either way, it's a phallus or emblem. And you know, you can look up that word and see what it means. It is perverted, it's disgusting, however you want to look at it. For us, for them, it is perfect. And you know, that's the source of their power. This is all that we're saying. But this is the new Egypt. But they took from the old to establish the new. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, here are some other symbols of bondage. Look at the two symbols on the outskirts. Here is the Egyptian god again, maybe a pharaoh. Notice the serpent right here in his forehead. If you look at Elizabeth when she's wearing her crown, she has the cross on her forehead. Same thing, same instrument, or similar instrument, I should say, different shape. They do the same thing. There's a lot more here, but we'll get into that another time. Look at this one. I don't know if you can get a close-up of the Ankh right here, the cross right here, and next to the cross is the snake. Notice his head is covered the same way his head is covered. And notice he had the snake on his chest. He had the snake on his forehead. All of this speaks volumes. Again, it takes a lot to explain these things, but we're just going to highlight. Notice this one in the center. Who does that look like?
Everybody's friend. Yes, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat if you know.
Yeah.
What
that is. This guy right here. If you know who he is, tell us right now. Right? Please. Yeah. Tell us who this guy is. And if you have any friends that are actors or any I can't help it, you know. There you go. Yeah. Who's that? Very good. Oscar.
Yes, it is.
That is Oscar.
It is Oscar.
Yeah. Who Oscar really is. But this guy's also Oscar.
Who is Oscar?
Also Oscar. All three are Oscar. So if you're a good actor, don't get me wrong, take it, because isn't it made of gold or something? You get it? Yeah, it's made of gold. Take it, and yes, you're a good actor, because I don't believe in fanaticism. That's one thing that my elder taught us, not to criticize, but not to compromise. So if you get this in the Oscar Awards, go, you know, you don't have to be there. You can get it anywhere. But either way, take it and put it in the safe in the bank, because in 20 years it'll be worth billions, or somewhere, or melt it down and you know, it's good gold. And if you don't want it, just send it to me. I know what to do with it. And but this is Oscar here, and this is Oscar right and the left and center. They're all Oscar. Oscar is just an Egyptian god. That's all he is.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
So
absolutely. It's really, it really is phenomenal because
yeah.
it's this whole concept of the spirit of Egypt is just woven into every fabric of our lives. And we look at these symbols in America, which is what we're talking about. But you also see similar in the UK. You'll
In
see them
Canada
all around.
too.
Yes, all around. So, one of the things, even coming into this nation, just having this understanding, everywhere you turn, you will see something that is representative of the other side and what they're
Yes.
trying to do in plain sight. Everything is right in front of you. They're not hiding anything, but we refuse to see it.
That's right. The comment here, the same way the children of Israel wanted to go back to Egypt for the leeks and onions and the cucumbers. Yes, I remember that. It's the same thing happening today. All over the world, people gravitate towards America. They call it the land of the free. Are they kidding?
Mhm.
Again, it's for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. And this is why I give thanks to our God, and I show our gratitude to our elder for teaching the doctrine so that we
Yeah.
can have our eyes opened. What is that thing? To have the scales to fall off our eyes so that when we
Yes,
see these things, we can run to the other direction. We can run because
exactly.
we know we are not on the straight and narrow path when we see these things.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's just such an amazing point.
Mhm.
I'm telling you guys, you will walk away today. If you've never known before, you will know today. And every time you look around you, you will see, oh, that looks like an obelisk. Oh, there's a cross in there. There are so many symbols out there that's representative of the other side. And
Here's
it's huge.
You're
It's
absolutely correct. But here's what I will tell our American friends: take a look at the Christian shrines, for example. Like I said, you will see the same things in the Muslim. What do they call them? Places
huge.
of worship, mosques. Yes, but the Christian shrines. Look at the cornerstone. I have pictures that I took all over Atlanta, and it really disgusts me because when you go to people that look like me and they thought they were worshiping correctly, once I saw that image, that took it to a whole different level. I wanted to vomit, but unless maybe in another presentation, I will show you all those
Yeah, we'll
shrines
go into that.
with their
That's definitely a
yeah,
good one to go into.
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
sometimes it's not even that it's about believing, it's just to show you. It's like this is how deep the corruption is. So deep that the innocent person out there doesn't even know what they're doing. And they will die for what they believe. But
Yeah,
yet
and
still
then when you show them, they don't
clueless.
believe you.
They're
You know,
clueless.
yeah, this is everybody wants an Oscar. It is so nice to have an Oscar, but what are you really taking into your house and putting it on your shelf? Is it really like if I gave you a cross? I mean, maybe that's a bad example, but a cross of gold, I'll take it straight to the jewelry store, melt that down, make me a 7 branch candlestick, please. You see, but again, that's just me. I'm weird like that, but it is what it is. And again, we're not here to criticize. We're here to show you how the new Egypt was established. This is history meeting prophecy. Let's go to the next
Yeah.
slide, please. Here it is again. Again,
Well,
this is the old Pharaoh of the old Egypt. This is the new Pharaoh of the new Egypt. Why are they so distinguished in appearance? Why the design of the Lincoln Memorial was patterned after the image of Pharaoh of the old Egypt? Unless there is some connection. This is, I mean, like, do I have to be, do I have to have a PhD to figure this out? If you look at the guy on the one side and look at the guy on the other, well, and the location of these people is important too. But that's a whole different matter. We'll have to get into that when we bring up the other stuff. So let's continue to take another look to the next slide. If this not enough, look at this guy. Same guy. This is what you were
yes.
talking about, Officer Charmaine. I'll let you go.
Because- Yes. Yeah, no, we will go into this guy a little later because there is something else that we have working on. But
Right.
again, the Baphomet, if you even look at the description, you don't know, is that a man or a woman?
Right.
And it gets to what are we doing today to our children, even? But I'm not even touching that. But
Exactly.
even the Statue of Liberty, the same thing. Is it man or woman? It's like, what is that?
All we can do is show you the evidence of what they did in the ancient days and what they're doing today. If you see the crescent moon here, where is that
This is,
such an important
yeah,
event today? Yeah. I was looking at the Chinese Olympics, the opening ceremony, and I was fascinated with certain flags, and I was trying to look at the different spiritual divisions according to the images, because your symbols, your national symbols, reflect your spiritual dynamic, the
yes.
spiritual makeup. And this is something
Hmm.
that people don't understand. If you have these crosses all over your earrings, your tattoos, and your home, then it tells me who you're serving, right? Here is the same guy with that torch right up the middle from the pentagram, the five-pointed star. Why is this guy, this is Washington, why is he in the same spiritual dynamic as this guy?
Yeah,
Unless,
why?
yeah, why is his upper body naked, just like this guy?
It's
You know,
I, even though we read about this thing and we study it and we gather the information, it still blows my mind that people can't see this. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you make a statue exactly the same as that creature?
and all that we're talking about. So when we say the 33 degree, the 33%, this is what we're saying. It's just the demonic element that is being manifested. Again, we're not criticizing, we're bringing a sense of awareness. The hand gestures someone is pointing out here also is identical. Exactly. You
That's
know,
exactly what I'm saying. That's
yeah.
exactly what we're saying.
Yeah,
It's
he's asking what does it mean? I don't know what it means, and frankly, I don't need to know. That's on them. I am just showing the formation of the new Egypt. That's what we're talking about.
and
We're
that's it. We're opening your eyes to looking at the making of the new Egypt, all the symbolism that goes into making the new Egypt, the reason why it had to be done so that we can go to Egypt again. We were there before.
that's
It's
right.
almost you're going to know where you are. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you're going to know exactly where you are because
That's
you've
right.
been there before. Here it is again.
Here it is again. And
Here it is again.
all these guys have drunk of the cup of
Mm.
Babylon. They have drunk the wine. They are drunk, they're intoxicated, and they're mad. Okay, look at the serpent right there. And why is the serpent right there? I think we should go to the next slide. I don't want to get into that one, please. Yes. And there's not
Oh,
not
me a
just one
little
serpent,
bit. Oh my
two
goodness.
serpents, right?
Oh
Anyway,
my goodness.
I'm getting a headache. Let's move on. Okay, so this one, slide 13, we have the soldier of freedom and justice. This is what I like about the God of Israel. This is what we were talking about. The covenant is still valid to us. This is why we
Yeah.
say to the Jacobites, come home to your father's house. Bring your
Yes.
friends and neighbors with you so that they too can benefit from their service to our God. This is William Wilberforce, one of the
And
guys
not
that.
just the
Go ahead.
Jacobites, not just the Jacobites, anybody that wants to serve the God of Israel, the God of
Yes,
Abraham, Isaac, and God of Jacob. We're calling anybody.
that's
This
right.
is open. This is not, we are not holding on to this, we're not going to share it with you because of whatever. If you have been blessed with a spirit of understanding, or even if you want to know more, there is a link. There is a link below this. Just click on it and somebody will get back to you.
Right.
This is a great way to understand the truth. We
That's
have so many videos that will help you. And this is all we're trying to do. We're trying to help you return to the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. Come home. Come
yes.
home. It doesn't
Yes.
matter who you are. You want to come home, the doors are open if you want to come home. Just fill out the forms, send us a message and we'll get back to you.
Exactly. There is so much. And to your point, Officer Charmaine, when we do the lessons on Saturdays and Fridays, sometimes people don't quite get it. The Bible is high level stuff. This is why I can't take people that try to quote, and I don't take them seriously. I don't debate with people, but that's just me because I think that that's crazy. But here now, we're given an opportunity for the word to come alive. You could see the evidence. This is a supplemental element to what our teaching on Fridays and Saturdays. We can see what our elder has been saying for almost 40 years now. We can see what Priest Sandal and the council teaches. All of this information. Now we see the evidence. There's one thing to say, but let's see the evidence. This is one of the soldiers, one of the few, right?
Yes.
Why is there a statue, and not in every city, to William Wilberforce? Why do we have statues to other people, but not William Wilberforce? Why is he not put up in the homes of people? Take down the other guy with a cross around his neck. Put up William Wilberforce.
Does anyone know who William Wilberforce is?
A member of the British Parliament and the greatest leader of the 19th century. He dedicated his life to the cause of freedom and justice and was the best friend of the children of slavery. Since 1789, he led the fight against slavery, which resulted in the abolition of the British slave trade in 1807 and the emancipation of the slaves on August 29, 1833. August
Amen.
should be Black History Month. August is Freedom Month. August is when we remember the 400. This is why it is important that we should celebrate August as Freedom Month. So this is the man. Can you imagine, Officer Charmaine, if I were the one that had this knowledge back in his time, and I went to the British Parliament to say, "Hey guys, we need to stop this." You know what they did to me?
You wouldn't stand a chance.
Oh, I'd be sold in a heartbeat, right? I'd be picking cotton in an hour or two.
And you know what? This is why I love our God. Our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. He uses people. He doesn't. He's not a respecter of skin or what you look like or how much you have or what have you. He uses you for His own purpose. Even Nebuchadnezzar, he called his son. He uses people for us, whether it's to enslave us or whether it's to free us. He uses other people. So we have to recognize this.
Wisdom. That's what I like. That is, it is not, like I said, it's not about black versus white. It's about truth versus the lie. This is what we need to come to grips with. So here's William Wilberforce doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. But wait, there's more. Can we have a look at another slide, please?
Someone is asking, isn't this the guy they made the movie Amistad about?
I'm not sure about the movie.
I believe it is. I believe it is, but I'm not 100%. I think this is where they got the song Amazing Grace, which we do not subscribe to. Maybe another time we could go into that as well.
Right. But here's another soldier.
A lesson done just recently, I think they touched on that. So I think it was done yesterday. Actually, Teacher Jaden, I think he mentioned it yesterday. So
take a look at that.
Yes.
Another soldier of freedom and justice. Another soldier that doesn't look like us, right? He was a member of the United States House of Representatives from Pennsylvania. This is Thaddeus Stevens. Again, please don't take us. Go ahead.
There was one more point, especially with William Wilberforce, and you have to look at the amount of sacrifice this guy actually made for the children of Israel.
Good point.
For us. He did not even live to see the actual emancipation. He died before it.
Yes. As soon as it was passed, he was out of here. Again, that's a high spiritual matter.
Really spiritual. That is something.
Very important. Again, these guys don't look like us, but they're fighting for us. I like that. We owe them and their family and their relatives a sense of appreciation. We need now to show our God, or to show them, show our God first that his wisdom was not in vain, then show Thaddeus Stevens and William Wilberforce and the others that their effort was not in vain. If
It's
you
like
have,
when the God of Israel says, remember what I did for you in Egypt. So
right,
remember all the things that he has done for us and the people that he's put in place to help us achieve our goal. And
yes,
there is only one goal that we have.
yes, yes, yes. So here's Thaddeus Stephen. Stephen. He said his vision of justice for all resulted in the 14th Amendment. Please look it up. The 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution in 1868. It granted citizenship to the children of slavery and helped to remove the restrictions imposed by the Dred Scott case that a black man had no right which a white man is bound to respect. That was a legal document. Again, investigate these things for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. On March the 11th, 1867, he introduced the reparation bill number H.R. 29 during the first session of the 40th U.S. Congress. This bold attempt to secure restitutions or reparation, however you want to call it, has yet to bear fruit. And this is something that should be on all of our minds. And this is not just for the money, but also for the idea of building a greater country, building a greater America, a greater Canada. Everyone in the world would benefit. The Chinese benefit from America. They own about 20% of American debt. Why? Because they see the prosperity there. Don't worry about people going back and forth. Everyone comes to America to benefit from the work that the slaves contributed to the prosperity of that nation. We
Yes.
must come together as a family, work together so that we too can get some format of benefits from this as well. So
Yes.
this is all that we're trying to put out as well. There's so many different dynamics to this, but thank you to Thaddeus Stevens. Let's look for the next slide, please. And here's another one, the soldier of freedom and justice. None of them look like us. John Brown, excellent guy. I think he had 7 sons, all got sacrificed for the children of Israel. He fought for the children of slavery when they were not allowed to fight back against the oppressors. Mingled in his blood with the blood of the slave. In 1859, with a plan to free the slaves, he attacked a federal military division at Harper's Ferry, Virginia, may have incited the American Civil War. I don't even like the term civil war because how can it be civil if it's war? But anyway, I'm nerdy like that. That was intended to prevent the civil war that it started. But this man did a great deal for us, and it's
Yeah.
important that in the month of August that we remember him and
Mm-hmm.
his family, as well as the other 2 soldiers of justice. Why are these
Yeah.
soldiers of justice being showed? Because there's hope for the Israelite nation. There's hope for the children of slavery. Go ahead, Officer Sherman.
No, and it just goes back to what we were saying earlier. This whole thing that we're doing, it's about identity, it's about awareness. Because once you have the identity, once you have the awareness, then you will learn to be accountable and responsible, because this all ties in to who we are.
Yes,
Looking at where we're coming from and where we are right now. We have finished 400 years of slavery. Do you know how amazing that is? It's such an amazing thing to understand. And looking at our history, which we are doing, we see the prophecy, and now we see where we are. Now we can sit back and objectively look at where we came from to make the right decisions. The right
exactly.
decision.
And we did all of this, and this is something that Teacher Jaden and I like to talk about. We did all of this. Remember, the United States today has a gross domestic product of gazillions of dollars. And we did all of this, building a platform for their power and their success, all with one hand tied behind our backs. Can you
Yes.
imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if we would stretch forth both hands to heaven, what we could do?
Mm.
If we did this
Yes.
with one hand tied, if we stretch forth both our hands to our
Mm.
Father, it gets me a little bit emotional when I
It.
talk about these things. But this
Mm.
is what we're talking about. Now that we have an opportunity to freedom, let us see how we take advantage of this. Next slide, please.
Mhm.
And here it is. the path to truth and freedom. The question is, there's the map. Where does it lead? Look at all the arrows going up to the north. The thicker the arrow, the greater the crowd. They all heading toward the border to Canada, towards the land of freedom, right? Remember, the slaves used to sing the old Negro spirituals, and they were singing
Yes.
about Canaan's land, right? But
Yes.
when the slave owners heard them singing, he thought they were just happy. But those
Mm.
songs communicated a secret plan from
Yes.
slavery to freedom, from
Yes.
America to
That
Canada.
was the real soul music. The
Yes.
real soul music. It really hit you.
And
And
soul,
even
soul
just
said the word is a key word.
and even where they're going to, Canada, this they called Canaan's land. And where
Yes,
was Canaan? Where was the original Canaan? You know?
exactly. And why would a slave know about that? They didn't go to Harvard,
Right.
but they're singing it, right? And we can get into that one day. We'll do a presentation of Negro spiritual because there is so much wisdom there. And can you imagine if that tingles our heart, how much more the God of Israel, you know,
Yes.
when he hears that singing and the harmony thereof in the middle of adversity. Oh, I can't even think about it. It's beyond my
Mm.
comprehension. But
Yeah.
his response led to the soldiers of freedom that we talked about earlier. And now we're able to lead those people into a land that is also being prepared for their salvation. And
Yes.
that again, I get very emotional talking about it, but
Yeah.
is reality, because now that's where we are today. We're not saying one is better than the other, because technically Canada, from a cultural perspective, is part of the new Egypt in a sense. But
It
that's
is.
another presentation. So
Yeah. But we look at the prophecy and it's just happening.
yes,
Oh my goodness.
let's go to another slide, please. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, can I say free at last?
I want to read something.
Go ahead.
As I said, we started with a scripture just to show you, that this is not something that we're making up. We're
Right.
just showing you it's in plain sight where the new Egypt is and how it was prepared. And
Yes.
I just want to read from the same book. This is Deuteronomy 30, 1 to 3. And I'll just read it quickly for you.
Go ahead.
And it says here, it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord thy God has driven thee. This is what we're doing right now. We're calling all the things to mind. And shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God has scattered thee. Do
Amen.
you see the objective?
Yes. And this is what I like about it, because he didn't, dismiss us. Yes, he had to punish us, but he kept an opportunity for us to find our way back. And this is where Elder Shadrach comes in, because he was called to do this. Again, he had to come here when the time was right and set up. And I feel privileged, and I'm sure you do too, Officer Charmaine, to be a part of this establishment that we have done since 1985. We've set up this opportunity for people to come from all over the world, whether it's online or whether it's actually to our temple, and to make us aware of our unique and distinctive culture. This is why it says the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, a
Yes.
cultural awakening, a cultural awakening. And here it is right here. We have our own national flag. We have our own coat of arms. We have our own national anthem. We can go on and on. One Bible, all nations are welcome. because then we are one people, one body of Christ, right? And the elder made open the doors now. He made it clear the difference between Christ and Jesus, and he established the precepts thereof, so that
Mm.
now that gateway is fully open. There is no opportunity left for people to be ignorant and living in darkness. The light is shining on the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. It shines in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey. It shines in
Mhm.
Atlanta and Georgia. It shines in Missouri and St. Louis. It shines in the UK. It shines in Toronto. The truth is what we're talking about. That's our light, because the truth is the word of God. Go ahead, Elster.
Amen. No, I completely agree. It's one thing that this nation does for you, and this is why I'm so passionate about it, and that is we are allowed to go out and do this kind of research. Our
Yes,
elder doesn't, oh, just listen to me or just read the book and no, we can go out and we can put this together because for myself, I think this is so incredibly important just to know that, what they're teaching you out there, you're not going to get this. You're not going to get this kind of teaching, especially in the schools. What they're teaching you, they're not teaching the whole story. And we have nothing to gain by sharing this information. All we're looking for is for you to make your own decision about coming to this nation, because at the end of the day, you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for me. You're not doing it for Elder Michael, for Elder Andor, for our Elder Shadrach. You're not doing it for us. It's for you. For you to return home to your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and to give him thanks that your eyes are open, that you can understand this, that you can understand the scriptures. You have all the lessons. You can ask the questions. This is where it's at. This is where we keep it real.
exactly. And again, our new year is coming up in the spring. This is why, as I said at the beginning, this is the perfect time for reflection. Reflection allows us to learn from our past mistakes, because we all made mistakes, right?
Yes.
And it gives us an opportunity that we do not repeat those mistakes again. It allows us or provides us the opportunity to strengthen our bond as a family, so that the covenant of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob may be validated, and not only individually but nationally, because that's where the
Yes.
family comes in. And you can't be a family without a head, and that's again is our Father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And this, as we said again, we are this allows us to see the preparation for the new Egypt, but most importantly, it gave us a sense of the history, where history meets the prophecy, and the prophecy is the word of our Father. It tingles my heart, because when you read it, but when you see it actually
Mm.
materialized, then
Yes.
I mean, who can argue with that? I mean, you can if you're still drunk, if you're mad, but and I can't stop you. But that's what it comes down to. But then the scripture in Jeremiah chapter 25 and 51 made that statement clear, that
Yes.
all the nations will drink of the cup of Babylon, and they would get drunk, they will be intoxicated, and they will be mad. So in this madness is what the world is offering to us today. We have a choice. We can go through rehabilitation, apologize
Mhm.
for our mistakes, and be redeemed, or we can
That's
continue the way it is today.
that's all we have to do is just say, sorry, God of Israel, we really messed up something chronic.
Yes,
And, ask for the forgiveness, ask for directions, and we will help you. That's what we want to do. We want to help you. That's all. Nothing
that's
else.
that's
And you know what? Maybe it's not even for you, but maybe you know somebody who might be interested. Please pass this on. Share it with your friends, your family, help them as well.
and again, we are also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So all we have now opportunity for people to look and see exactly what is most convenient for them. And we want to
Yeah.
get your comments, because we need to know where you would like us to go next. We have our own ideas, but we want this
Yes,
to be yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just reiterating or agreeing with what you're saying. Yes,
Yeah,
we do have a lot of ideas, but we
yeah,
also want to make it interesting to you. So if you feel there's something that you really want us to dive into, please just ask the question and we'll
that's
put it
right.
on our list.
That's right. This is a family event. We want people to appreciate our father and our brothers and our sisters and our children. The time for our awakening is now. I know that they have something called woke or whatever that is, but we talk the plain language here. You know, time to come out of her, my people, and lead and stop following. So with that, I don't know if you want to say anything else, Officer Charmaine.
I think I've said quite enough, quite enough for today.
Yes, I think we've covered it. Again,
And
we've
yes,
covered
just
3,000
also
years.
thank everybody for their questions. I'm sorry we
Yes,
didn't get to answer them all, but this is such a great opportunity, and keep asking them, because if we didn't answer it right now, we'll get back to you. Maybe there's a lesson there.
yeah, we'll
So
get to it
please
later.
keep asking your questions, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And may the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob bless you real good. Peace.
Amen. Peace.
Hello, hope you're enjoying the program so far. We're excited you've joined us for today's event. If this is your first time, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the notification bell to be kept up to date with all the latest news. Also, take a second to like, comment, and share our videos. That's right, like, comment, and share our videos. We would really appreciate that. Also, we are really passionate about sharing our Israelite culture and would welcome your generosity in helping us to reach more people. So please feel free to leave us a donation. If you would like to learn more or are thinking about joining us, then please go ahead and fill out the form in the description box below, and a member of the Welcome Committee will be in contact. Thank you so much for your time, and I leave you with peace, love, truth, prosperity, and power.